could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? Been trying to change what I've been trying to say. Words don't come straight from my head to my mouth. It's such a shame that it fell out of place. Was never me that was bringing you down. Why we always looking for more? 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 Why we always
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to race number 16 on the season, the 5th season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. And here today, we are getting ready to take to the Monster Mile Dover International Raceway. This should be a good one, as this has been a mainstay on the schedule. Usually brings about a surprise win or two, whether it be on pit strategy or just the timing of when a caution falls. So, cannot wait to see how this is going to potentially impact our playoff grid and maybe set up another driver with an opportunity to battle in the upcoming playoffs. Before we get to all the pre-race ceremonies, of course, we've got to take a look at our point standings coming into this race. Still the 19 team out of Pigeon Racing sit atop the points with 2 victories, so they hold the number 1 seed. But look at all the race winners we got up here inside of the top 10. You got the 8 team winning at Daytona. You got the 0-1 team winning back at the Daytona Road Course. The 78 team, the 27 team, the 6 team, the 93 team, all up here inside of the top 10. These guys right now all sitting in good positions for the time being to be in playoff spots. Move on to page 2. This is where things start to get interesting. The 31 team with James Shelley last week at Riverside go into victory lane, so they jump up to 13th in the point standings. They're in a playoff position as things stand right now, and currently the final playoff position belongs to the 32 team out of Pigeon Racing, 15th in points. So keep an eye on the 32 car and the 48 car here this week, as Northeast Motorsports currently sitting about 25 points out of that final playoff position. But then as we move down to the third and final page, there are teams that still need that second victory. They're starting to run out of time to be able to point their way up there, because it's so difficult to be able to make strides points-wise here with the limited number of cars we have in the field. So, you look at the 77 team, the 74 team, the 95 team. These are teams that now I think at this point onward until the end of the regular season, they need to be looking for that second victory to leapfrog all the other drivers ahead of them in the points that have one victory. It would leapfrog them immediately up into the number 2 seed. So I think that if you keep an eye on those cars here today, they are going to be making it imperative that they get up to the front and try and snag a second checkered flag for their respective teams. It's going to be 80 laps of racing here today at one of the toughest tracks on the circuit. It's going to be all about tire conservation, rhythm, and of course, avoiding Miles the Monster possibly eating up your opportunity at a victory. Let's go down trackside and get ready for pre-race ceremonies, beginning with the singing of our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Drivers, start your engines!
Pace car going to lead this 29 car field off of pit road. And we get ready to go racing here today at the concrete mile racetrack of Dover. Levi McIntyre captures the pole position here today. It's an all Ford Mustang front row. Joshua Osborne will line up to his outside. Matter of fact, Blue Oval sweep the podium with Pedro Lucas rolling off on the inside of row 2 alongside of Tim Walsh. Austin LaPlante, Dylan Young make up row 3. James Qualls and Matt Haas in row 4. Row 5, the top 10 complete by Cody Lamas and Keith Batson. Row 6 with Kyle Matthews, Nick Gunther. Row 7, Jesse Turner and Trey Wright. Cole Baker, Charles Sanford back in row 8. Daniel Silva and Amanda Evans there in row 9. And Phil Parker, Cody Smart complete the top 20. Michael Wayne Robinson, 21st. Carter Friedson, 22nd. Points leading team, the 19 team with Carson Gum, the defending champ, 23rd. 24th, Dylan Poteet. Andrew Lemke completes the top 25. Then it's Patrick Smith, Ryan Butcher, Benny Watson, and Jack Mitchell, the last driver to win. The last time these primary drivers were on the racetrack back at the Daytona Road Course. He starts shotgun on the field. Green flag in the air, and already an issue for Levi McIntyre. And I believe now the green flag comes out. Problems for the pole sitter Levi McIntyre. I don't know what happened, but he knew he was in trouble before they even got up here to the start-finish line. And he's got the 99 car crawling on the front straightaway. Hopefully they get that thing back to pit lane before the field comes around. Out of 3 and 4. LaPlante gonna dive it down to the inside on Lucas to try and lead lap 1. They're 3 wide behind him. Kyle Matthews gonna get into James Qualls, and they're wrecking behind as well. Turner, Matt Haas, Dylan Young, Phil Parker took a hard shot in the inside wall. I see Benny Watson and Carson Gum back there also. Caution is out for the first time here today at Dover. That did not take long at all. We're racing back to the yellow flag. LaPlante looks like he is going to lead us back to the caution. Pedro Lucas, and then maybe Osborne? Maybe Osborne completing the podium. It was a drag race between himself and Tim Walsh, and there's a lot of drivers that are smoking leaving the scene of that accident. James Qualls, his day looks like it may be over already. And they're still wrecking. Keith Batson just got into the wall somewhere. Phil Parker's coming down pit lane. Carson Gum, points leading team on pit road. Benny Watson, 32 car. Remember I mentioned they and the 48 are going to be a teams to watch trying to get that final playoff spot here today. Or at least battling for that position. Dylan Young, I know, was in it. Ryan Butcher slow here over in turn 3. There's Matt Haas. I know he got a piece. Jack Mitchell's already up to 19th after starting dead last in this race, so he passed a lot of cars. Joshua Osborne, 27th, coming down pit lane. He's the one that I believe... Well, no, he didn't get involved in the wreck. It was Kyle Matthews and James Qualls who had the contact. There's the 44 of Daniel Silla coming down pit lane as well. He just finished up service. Maybe some right side damage on the 27th they want to fix, although it comes down and tops off the fuel tank, so he just gave up 3rd or 4th. Not sure which position he was in when he crossed the start finish line, so he gave up some track position, that's for sure. Let's go back and see what happened. Let's bring out this yellow flag. And it started, at least the initial wreck, starts with the 09 and the 17. Matthews and Qualls. And it was, I believe, around the 5th position where it took place. But there were like 2 wrecks that took place at the exact same time. One car getting hooked down and the other car getting hooked up. So we'll look at the 17's incident first. Looks like Kyle Matthews pushes up. Ooh, he got a little contact with is that Cody Lamas? Yeah, Cody Lamas in the 1. Just hooks the 17 in the left rear quarter panel. You see there on the left side of your screen, Jesse Turner, Matt Haas, Dylan Young. Oh, Daniel Silla did get involved, so that's why he was obviously down pit road. Oh, Carson Gum, top of your screen there. Pretty good shot into Phil Parker. Benny Watson there as well. We're going to take some other looks at this. Yeah, Qualls nosing it down. Doesn't take long for you if you spin out off of turn 2 to find that inside safer barrier. It's hard to tell from this angle. Maybe the other angle gave us a better idea of whether Matthews pushed up, which is common here at a track like Dover, or if Qualls maybe came down across the nose. And I'm wondering if the 47 of Jesse Turner, just based on the way that he went up to the outside wall, if maybe he crowded up Matt Haas. Oh, man, see Phil Parker back there as well. Take a pretty good shot into the inside safer barrier. And then turn 1 is just all blockaded up. Back up into Carson Gum, into Benny Watson. Nothing those guys in the inside line could do is they just got swept up into the incident. So how does the 47 get involved? I believe he gets squeezed up there. See if we can get an angle that will tell us. Watch the silver car on the inside line, and... Oh, it was Dylan Young getting hooked by Keith Batson that really started it behind them. He then comes down into the 8 of Matt Haas, who in turn clips Jesse Turner in the right rear quarter panels. It was the 39 and the 2 getting together that caused that secondary incident. Look at those guys around the top. Nick Gunther, Trey Wright, Charles Sanford, Amanda Evans. Nice job by all of them. They picked up about 6-7 spots right there with making the moves they did. Cody Smart does the same. Carter Friesen. Well, Qualls, I believe, is already back in the garage area. Carson Gum may be done for the day with that front end damage. Phil Parker nosing into the inside wall. We'll see if he can continue on. That's something that we haven't talked about yet, and we're going to be, as the run goes on here today at Dover, is the potentiality of lap traffic when you catch it. We've seen it come into play before here in the past. And speaking of the past, we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But now let's head back to live and get ourselves ready for the upcoming restart. I believe we've gotten the 1 to green signal, and I'm wondering how this is going to position Levi McIntyre, who was on pit road, has returned back to the racetrack. He is right now scored 2 laps down. Carson Gum back out on track 2 laps down. A lap down for Daniel Silla. Lap down for Phil Parker. 2 laps down for Benny Watson. James Qualls, the only driver out of the race. And those 5 lap machines will line up on the inside line alongside of race leader Austin LaPlante. Pedro Lucas lines up second. Tim Walsh third. Kyle Matthews in fourth. Cody Lamas completing the top 5. Then Cole Baker, Nick Gunther, Trey Wright, Charles Sanford, and Amanda Evans. Well, whatever driver wins here today at Dover, it will be the first win of their career at this racetrack. Our 4 previous race winners are either no longer in the series or not the primary drivers of their respective teams. We'll cover that in just a minute as we get ready to go back green flag racing. Going to be a lot of traffic for the top 5 back through the top 10 to deal with here. Some of them up to speed, some of them not up to speed, as a green flag back in the air on lap 7 of 80. And you saw about, was that 7th, 8th, 9th, all jump down to the inside line. That may not be the lane they want to be in. Things are going to be rather congested down there with the slower lap cars. LaPlante's going to clear around the top of lap machine of Daniel Silla. So he's firmly in control of the top spot. Tim Walsh trying the inside line against Pedro Lucas, and he's going to make it work. So move the 15 up to second spot. Lucas drops back to third. And now the 2 of them will work together to get around the lap car, the 44 car, out of 4 Racing Enterprises. Kyle Matthews closes in now in 4th, bringing Cody Lamas in the 5th position along with him. Cole Baker might latch on to these guys as well. As further back, look at this mayhem. 3 wide back there. Looked like that was Keith Batson, Matt Haas. I couldn't tell who the other car was. Might have possibly been Andrew Lemke in the 12. McIntyre, 2 laps down, 26th position right now. He's got a fast car, as we know, qualified on the pole position, but really would love to know what it was that went amiss on his machine. Wasn't really even able to take the green flag under power. Had to come to pit lane, unscheduled pit stop, lost a couple of laps as a result, and certainly not the performance they were looking for here today. 16th in the point standings coming to this one. A win would put them into a playoff position leaving Dover, and it just all went south very quickly. Top 3 have gotten themselves gapped back to 4th place Kyle Matthews. So I mentioned the fact that none of our former winners here at Dover are in the field here today. 2 of them do still take part in the series. That'd be Adam Garcia, who drives for the 2 team out of Young Motorsports, and Ali Rain, who was then under the name Johnny Gardner. Of course, Ali driving the 65 team out of Evans Gardner Motorsports. But Amanda Evans doing the driving duties here today. The other 2 race winners at this track that are no longer in the series, Marcus Sachi, and the inaugural winner back in Season 1, that was Wyatt Quayle. Caution is out for the 2nd time today. So is LaPlante going to lead us back to the start-finish line? Wonder where this was. Looking for some lingering smoke. I don't see any. Got Osborne, the 27 back here, Carson Gum. It's hard to tell where the incident was and who was involved because you got a number of torn up cars already based off of the early going of this race. Trying to fan through here. I don't see anybody involved. Maybe we'll find out who it was. I'm wondering if it was a slower car in the way of faster cars, but then again, I'm not sure. Oh, 19 of Carson Gum was awfully slow. Oh, yeah, he got hooked on the front straightaway. Got taken 3 wide. Ryan Butcher down the bottom. Jack Mitchell in the middle. Carson Gum doing his best to try and stay up there out of people's way. And Ryan Butcher pushes Jack Mitchell up into the 19. So Carson was being a very obliging lap car. Look at the 78 of Ryan Butcher. We're going to have to look and see. I can't see far enough left there to see if he ended up getting up into the wall or not. Certainly looked like he had enough momentum. He couldn't have saved it. Carson noses it down to the inside wall. So did Ryan Butcher get the wall with the right side of his machine? I'll be shocked if he didn't. Yeah, there was nothing that Carson Gum could do there. Same for Mitchell. It's just one of the typical things here at Dover when you're on that inside line. Car wants to push up, especially as that right front tire temp begins to build up. Oh, gosh. Did he hit it? Might have just caught it with the right rear flare on the quarter panel, but if he did, I didn't see any sparks fly off of that panel. He might have avoided the wall. Man, you can't get any closer than that. That was a heck of a save by Ryan Butcher. And he didn't lose much of it as a result either. Very impressive by the driver of the 78 car, which, of course, that team coming into this race with a victory and right now 25 points out of the points lead, which is very important for drivers and teams wanting the extra 15 bonus points for winning the regular season championship. That point of the season, it's coming up quicker than you think. Let's check in on potential drivers a lap down or out of the race after our second caution of the day. Does not appear that anything has changed since we last checked in. 2 cars, 1 lap down. Silla and Parker. 4 cars, 2 laps down. McIntyre, Watson, Gum, and Osborne. And then James Qualls out of the race. So definitely not a good day for Joanna Atwood Motorsports, which is rather surprising because, as I mentioned, Allie Rain and Wyatt Quayle, both with victories here at Dover, and they were driving at the time for Joanna Atwood Motorsports. So 50% of the race wins here at this racetrack have come out of the Joanna Atwood Motorsports stables. So definitely was looking at the 17 and the 27 as cars to potentially be up at the front of the field here today, but in the early going it looks like that may not be the case. I'm trying for the life of me to remember what team Marcus Sacchi was driving for. I remember it was the number 21 FedEx Chevrolet, but I can't remember what the team name was. I almost wonder if it was an entry out of Michael Norman Motorsports, but I might be wrong. And then Adam Garcia, of course, when he won here, was driving for Young Motorsports. It was the 12th car, if I recall correctly. So LaPlante gets ready to put us back under the green. Working our second caution of the day, almost a quarter of the way through. Walsh second, Pedro Lucas third, Kyle Matthews fourth, and Cody Lamas going to complete the top 5. Into the restart zone, waiting on the flagman to wave the green flag. It's out. We're back underway here. I noticed that most drivers back there that were behind the lap traffic did not jump to the inside line this time. Apparently they learned their lesson, because it didn't work out for a few drivers. In particular, Nick Gunther got mired back in traffic, lost a lot of spots on that last run. Levi McIntyre, Benny Watson, those cars appear to be up to speed. They'd love to get around LaPlante, get one of their laps back. Both the 99 and the 32, 2 laps down to the race leader currently. But if they could get around LaPlante, catch a quick caution, and then do the same thing all over again on the upcoming restart, we could find them back on the lead lap. And as mentioned, the 99 car's got some really good speed. Qualified on the pole position. It had some kind of, I'm assuming, mechanical problem before we even got the green flag. He knew he was in trouble. He pulled that thing down to the apron. I thought that somebody was going to potentially get a black flag penalty, but nobody did. Another driver who had a good qualifying effort was Joshua Osborne, and he had some problems. So our entire front row had problems here in the early going. Look at this. LaPlante knows McIntyre wants the lap back. He literally blocked him down the back straightaway. Now Benny Watson gets to the inside. This is a battle for position between the 32 and the 99. 25th place. So it's the race within the race. I feel like we say that a lot. And Watson not going to be able to get the spot from Levi McIntyre. Levi will try and go back to work, get back up there to that Ally Chevrolet. Now the 48 team already has a victory this season with Austin LaPlante back at the Springfield Miles. So if LaPlante's able to close out the deal here today, forget about them battling with the 32 team for the last spot in the playoffs. They would leapfrog said team and a number of others up into the number 2 seed behind the 19 car out of Pigeon Racing. They'd be the only 2 teams with multiple victories on the year. Charles Sanford, he's on the move. He's now up into the 4th position. Just got around Cody Lamas a couple of laps ago. 03 team has been making some pretty good strides. It really was the 09 team, the second entry out of S3 Motorsports, that was running well in the early going of the season. Now that team has dropped to 22nd. The 03 team that was mired outside the top 15, top 20 in points in the early going, they've now made their way up to 12th in points. So there's a lot of teams that still have a shot of making it into the playoffs, provided they can win. You know, look at the 47 team out of Lake Effect Autosport, the aforementioned 03 team, the 65 team out of Evans Gardner Motorsports. They've all still got a shot. One team that really took a hit in the point standings last week was the 38 team out of Blue Oval Automotive. I don't recall the exact number of spots that they lost, but they were up inside the middle of the top 10 in the standings, and they come into this race 14th in points. They did not run well at Riverside and suffered accordingly. And right now, I believe Trey Wright in that 38 car is up inside the top 10. He was 10th last time by. Tim Walsh, the 15 car out of Legend Racing. There's a team that could certainly use a victory. 24th in the point standings. Matter of fact, you look at who you've got up here right now inside of the top 5. You've got the 15 car, but you also got the 21 car of Pedro Lucas. Right now, 23rd in points where that team sits, and they had a great run last week with Allison Rodrigo at Riverside, so maybe that's going to turn the fortunes of the No Limits Racing team. And following it up, at least right now, with a good performance today. Another team with a victory that could, or if they get a victory, that could be in a playoff spot when they leave here today would be the Michael Norman Motorsports number 1 team. Cody Lamas doing the driving duties today. That team currently sits 9th in the point standings. They are the 2nd highest team in points without a victory. The 47 team out of Lake Effect Auto, that is the highest running team right now in points that has not gone to victory lane. Pedro Lucas finally making his way around a lot of that lap traffic, who appear to be up to speed. McIntyre, Watson, and Osborne all appear to be running similar lap times to the race leaders. And Tim Walsh is starting to reel in Austin LaPlante for the top spots. See LaPlante run really low there down the back straightaway, trying to block any attempt Walsh might make to get to the inside going into turn 3. While that helps him to defend the spot down the backstretch, I have to wonder that shallow an entry, how that's affecting his ability to get into the corner. Might be losing him some time, so I don't know if necessarily you want to go down there and defend. Walsh is there, and Walsh, ooh, he took a peek. I thought he might try and use the bumper there for a brief moment, but not just yet. Let's keep an eye on this battle for the race lead, because this is good. LaPlante started 5th, Walsh started 4th. Both still up here inside of the top 5 and duking it out here for the top position. Now, just about everybody towards the back of the pack came down pit road under this last caution, but nobody up at the front of the field did. Don't know what the fuel window exactly is here at Dover, but I know they can't run 80 laps. And Dover is one of the toughest pit lanes to get onto. Maybe not as much in terms of how to get on, but when to know to get on. Because it's a blind corner when you come around out of turn the center of 3 and 4. And they don't have a commitment cone, they have a commitment box. We'll see if we can show it to you this next time by. Watch for an orange box down here on the apron. Right there, you see that orange box? That's the commitment cone, theoretically. And so many times a driver will overdrive that particular area, even if you have your right sides to the right of it. That is a commitment line violation, and you have to then come back down pit road and serve that penalty. And that has come back to bite so many drivers in the past. So we talk about execution on pit road. How about execution getting onto pit road? That's, I think, going to be one of the big keys here today. Cody Lamas just took 4th from Sanford. And top 5 have really gapped themselves back here to 6th place Carter Friesen and company. They're all wadded up behind the 19 of Carson Gum right now. Friesen now going to get to the inside of his teammate. Kyle Matthews there. Do we have some pitters? No, just the 8 getting kicked up out of the groove by Nick Gunther. This would be, in some ways, a bit of a home track for Nick Gunther. He's closer to Dover than he is to Pocono Raceway, despite residing in the state of Pennsylvania. Having a great run right now in that 55 car. Just cracking the top 10. 55 team comes into this race 17th in points. Just ahead of him, Dylan Young in the 2. You got to wonder what kind of tips former winner Adam Garcia might have had for his teammate here today. Whatever advice it was, looks like it's working for the moment. He's now going to dive to the inside of Trey Wright. That's 8th place battle. And Trey Wright's going to get himself freight trained because right behind the 2 is the 55 and the 39. Licking their chops. How about that 39 of Keith Batson? He took some pretty good licks there in that first caution. And that car still appears to be up to speed. 11th place last time by and continuing to make forward progress. Dylan Poteet in the car that went to victory lane with James Shelley 1 week ago at Riverside, currently holding down the 12th position. Right behind him, the 95 car, Cody Smart. During this week, a name change for the team. It is now Smart Motorsports for the remainder of the season, and he's right now trying to hold off Cole Baker in that 11 car. Right now, 14th. The 11 team currently sitting 7th in the point standings. You know, I was talking about the 03 team. What a tremendous job they've done. The landscape from the beginning of the season to where they are now. That 11 team also fits the bill. They got a win early in the season at Atlanta. I think it was Atlanta or Texas, one of those deep-shaped mile and a halves, courtesy of Cole Baker. But now Baker, Will Goss, and Tristan Allen, they have really been laying down consistent finishes. That was a team that I believe at one point in the season was dead last in the point stands, and now they're up inside the top 10 in overall points. Mentioned about slow traffic, lap traffic coming into play if we get into a long green flag run. Phil Parker is going to be the first driver that race leader Austin LaPlante encounters. Tim Walsh and Peter Lucas say thank you very much for creating that lane to the inside. We'll just follow you on through. LaPlante's going to have to, for the most part, do most of the work in getting by this traffic. Joshua Osborne, that 27, still right there with these guys. He is certainly behind the wheel of a fast machine, but he is 2 laps down to the top 3 ahead of him. And Walsh is heading for pit lane, so here we go. Now the strategy begins with 35 to go. Tim Walsh dives onto pit lane. Couple more coming down. Was that Cole Baker back there, I believe, coming in? No. Who was that? That was Poteet. Looked like the teal car, but it was the blue LS Tractors Chevrolet. Lemke is on pit road as well. Michael Wayne Robinson. There you see Jack Mitchell pitted the lap before. Matt Haas, Jesse Turner, and Carson Gum in this lap with this group. And here comes race leader Austin LaPlante in the following lap, bringing Pedro Lucas along with him. Charles Sanford also in. And a whole host of drivers from Kyle Matthews on back. That turned the race lead over momentarily to the one of Cody Lamas. And he's going to dive onto pit lane now. The Carvana Chevrolet brings the lap car of Benny Watson with him. Another car pitting further back. That's Carter Friesen in the 6. What about the 38 of Trey Wright? Does he stay out an extra lap? Yes, he does. Dylan Young stayed out as well. Keith Batson, Cody Smart, Nick Gunther. These might have been a couple of the drivers that I talked about that came down pit road under the second yellow to top off the fuel tank. Levi McIntyre, the pole sitter, pitting this lap you saw. Yeah, I think these are drivers that can go maybe another 4 to 5 laps on fuel. Try and see if they can catch a caution at the right time and trap a number of drivers that were up at the front 1 lap down. Was it last year, if I recall correctly, where that ended up happening? We had a caution come out in the middle green flag pit stops, and the battle for the win took place at the very end of the field. Everything else was going on ahead of them. Drivers on the tail end of the lead lap, but the battle for the win took place at the very back end of the field. It was one of the strangest races. Dylan Young, Nick Gunther, Cody Smart, Keith Batson, and I believe Daniel Silla. Those are the drivers we are waiting on to come to pit lane. A couple of others have also not pitted, Joshua Osborne and Phil Parker. And right now, according to our telemetry, it looks like when things cycle around, Tim Walsh. Well, I was going to say, got the race lead from LaPlante, but there is your battle potentially for the lead when things cycle around. LaPlante to the inside of Tim Walsh now. And he will take the now 9th, soon to possibly be race lead back from the 15 car. Cody Lamas appears that he will slot into 3rd. And I think Charles Sanford, no, make that Pedro Lucas, who'd be in 4th with Charles Sanford 5th. But we're still waiting on those drivers to hit pit lane. Wright, Young, Gunther. And I wonder how much time they're losing right now to the race leader. Let's see, 22.8 that last time by for Trey Wright, 22.8 for Austin LaPlante. So really, amazingly enough, not losing a whole lot of time for staying out is the 38 car. So he's playing the strategy of trying to trap a number of the field a lap down if he can catch the yellow at a good time. If he does have to throw up his hands and come to pit road, then he should have the freshest tires for the remainder of this race. It's a question of when does he come to pit road. Most of the leaders were on pit lane about almost 10 laps ago. 8 to 10 laps ago, depending on when they came down pit road. So I think Trey Wright, we're going to see him on pit lane here within the next lap or two. Not this time, though, as he continues to run his lane. Look at the fresh tires of LaPlante and Walsh. Slicing their way through these drivers that haven't pit. Walsh is going to get around Dylan Young. LaPlante got pinned behind the 2. So he loses potentially the lead, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, maybe more. That was a horrible situation for Austin LaPlante, who's led the most laps today. Look at the speed difference there. Walsh on Trey Wright. Now we're starting to see fresh tires versus old tires. 22.2 for Walsh last time by, 23.1 for Trey Wright. Oh, and now Walsh is going to get pinned on the top side. Cody Lamas will get to the bottom. And he's lucky Trey Wright was not planning on coming to pit road this time, or that would have been a very sticky situation out of turn 4. But Cody Lamas running the car on the top side out of room. And now Trey Wright's kind of boxed in. If he was planning to come into pit road, how the heck is he going to do it? It's on the top side. Now he's going to come down, and he breaks right in front of him. Oh, he got the wall! He got the pit wall. Is that a caution? It is. Caution is out. We're racing back. So now what does this mean? It's got to be the one, right? Cycling back as the race leader? Or do those drivers that just were on pit lane, do they stay on the lead lap? How does this cycle around now? Oh, man. How does this work? Cody Smart, he's coming down pit lane. He was being shown as the leader. Are we in for some deja vu from last season? This may be a lot of scoring deliberation that the NCRA admins are going to have to do to figure out who is where. I think we're going to have deja vu. I think Cody Lamas and company are going to be trapped on the tail end of the lead lap. Cody Smart may very well be at the tail end of this pack as the race leader, much like what happened 1 year ago. Are you kidding me? Well, I think it's pretty easy to tell what happened to Jordan Lopez. I mentioned that he was boxed in on the top side, and he tried to get that wheel turned as hard left as he could, or make that tray right, rather, to get onto pit road, and unfortunately, he pulled down a little too late. Might have carried too much speed as well. Gets clear on the 99. Immediately turns that car as hard left as he can. Can't slam on the brakes because he's got drivers behind him. And yeah, completely missed it. Oh, he ran over the commitment box too, which would have been a penalty anyway. And then look at the impact, shoots that car backwards. I am a little bit surprised that that did bring out a yellow, because I would have thought that'd be considered off the racing surface, since it was down on the apron, but maybe with the fact that it was bouncing backwards, and race officials weren't certain if that might actually come back up into traffic, maybe the prudent call was to throw the yellow. Let's take another look at it here. Yeah, there's no way he was going to make it. Even to the fact that we saw him go over that orange commitment box, one way or another, this pit stop was not going to work out in his favor at all. See right there, that car almost spun out on him. Back end was stepping out. Hits that transition, and the car just never turned. Never continued to turn left. He was out there on the oldest tires. Obviously, that right front tire temp must have been building up. That makes it difficult for the car to rotate through the center of the corner and turn left off the corner. So as soon as that thing hit the banking, the transitional banking there from the apron to the racetrack, going over that orange commitment box, that thing just stayed straight. He probably had that wheel turned hard left, but I guarantee you that that's not the direction that that left front tire was going. That thing got locked up a ton, and subsequently, because of it, we're going to have ourselves one of those rather unorthodox-looking restarts here at Dover. So, Austin LaPlante is going to be up here at the front. Correction, make that Cody Lamas is going to be up here at the front. But he's your second place driver. Where's your race leader? He's right there. Last car in the field, over a minute ahead of his competition. Now there is one thing that we do have to bear in mind. I believe we have more laps that we can run here this year than we had last year. So if a caution were to come out, and all these drivers on the lead lap stay ahead of the 95, they then cycle around to his back bumper for the upcoming restart. It's going to be 18 to go this time by. So there is a possibility, at least more time for that kind of a possibility, but we'll have to see what happens. They are lined up double wide. What is that, about 12 rows deep, looks like? 10, 12 rows deep. These drivers are going to be anxious for every position they can get. I expect to see some 3 wide, much like we saw in the early portions of this race. So we may not be done with cautions here today. Green flag back in the air here at Dover. For those wondering, Trey Wright did have his car pushed back to the garage area. Joins James Qualls in the infield. So we know that Cody Smart's the race leader. We're going to follow the battle for second up here at the front of the field as Pedro Lucas gets kicked up to the top side 3 wide with Jack Mitchell, and this is where things could get a little bit tight. They all made it through. Pedro Lucas is going bye-bye though. No grip up there on the top side of 1 and 2. As right now, Cody Lamas still in second place. Driver he has to worry about now would be, I believe, the 0-1 of Mitchell. He'll go to work to the inside of Patrick Smith in the 77. Smith is a lap down in 18th place right now. As a matter of fact, he and Andrew Lemke battling for 18th. Kyle Matthews, first car 1 lap down right here in 17th place. And because he passed Cody Lamas, who's in second... Oh! Are we wrecking? We're wrecking. Poteet, hard in the wall. He gets Young and race leader Cody Smart. Dylan Young's involved as well in the 2. He started at the back as the race leader, and Cody Smart now is all torn up. Poteet's day is done. A lot of smoke billowing from underneath his Chevrolet. And Cody Smart is not going to be happy about that. That was his race potentially to win everything. With the timing of that last caution worked out in his favor. And just like that, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Chevrolet is completely melted. A lot of rear end damage on the 2 of Dylan Young, who I believe may have been in the vicinity of the start of that wreck. Go back and look. If he wasn't the instigator of the wreck, he certainly was right there when it happened. I think Nick Gunther was also in that area. Oh, yeah. To be honest, I think it was the 2 that started it. I think Dylan Young got Michael Wayne Robinson in the left rear, hooked him into Nick Gunther's right rear, who then in turn gets into Dylan Poteet. And wow, Dylan takes a hard lick there. Oh, and then completely nailed on the passenger side by Cody Smart. Michael Wayne Robinson pinned up to the outside wall. And there you see Dylan Young comes back down the racetrack into Ryan Butcher. Collects up Keith Batson in the 39 as well. Cody Lamas, Jack Mitchell, a lot of drivers all breathing a sigh of relief because now they get to line up behind the race leader. And we're going to get this restart, I do believe, with more than 10 laps to go, which means that it will be a double file restart. Those drivers will not have to be all kind of integrated in with the lap machines. So 2 big breaks for drivers that were on the tail end of the lead lap when this caution came out. Here's another look. Watch the 2 car. Hooks the 93. Hooks the 55. And then right there, hooks the 31. They almost had that saved. I'm not sure why Poteet came that far down off the wall. I think they would have all had that saved. So 5-car pileup that then turns into a 7-car pileup with the addition of Butcher and Batson. Boy, that was a close call for Pedro Lucas shooting up the middle. And Carter Friesen gets on the brakes nicely to avoid running to the back of the 78 car. That could have been a lot worse, but certainly wasn't good for a couple of drivers. In particular, the 31 of Dylan Poteet and, of course, the 95 of Cody Smart. So Smart having to come down pit road, unscheduled stop. He is back on the racetrack, but right now in the 14th position on the lead lap. Kyle Matthews and Dylan Young, with the way that they are lined up right now, are on the tail end of the lead lap, but I believe when we get the 1 to green, yeah, we're going to have more than 10 laps to go. So they will have to go to the inside, and with Cody Lamas, the new race leader, pulling up alongside of Phil Parker, that should, I do believe, put Dylan Young, Kyle Matthews, at least temporarily back -1 lap. So right now, your top 10 as things look, Cody Lamas the leader, Jack Mitchell would be second, Tim Walsh third, Charles Sanford 4th, Austin LaPlante 5th, Amanda Evans 6th, Jesse Turner 7th, Pedro Lucas, Carter Friesen, and Ryan Butcher. That'd be the top 10. 11th, Nick Gunther, Michael Wayne Robinson in 12th, 13th, Keith Batson, 14th, Cody Smart, and I believe those are going to be the 14 drivers on the lead lap when we get back green, and lights out atop the pace car, and Cody Lamas is not pulling up alongside of the 74. We're going back green with 13 to go. I don't know why they wouldn't be doubling up. Unless, with Cody Smart pitting and these drivers coming around, they were scored a lap down at the time of caution, or scored in the tail end of the lead lap, so maybe they would be lined up single file here as if they were lap machines. That might be what the case is here. So this should be a very interesting restart. Dylan Young, Kyle Matthews would certainly love to see another caution come out before the one gets them back off the lead lap. Because right now they run the last two cars in the lead lap in 15th and 16th. We'll focus on the one, race leader Cody Lamas, bringing us back to green. Ooh, looks like he might have spun the tires there a bit. As Phil Parker, slow machine, jumps to the top side out of the way. And now we're going to have things get really congested all the way through the field. Different drivers, different tires, different levels of damage. So obviously different speeds in the corner. That restart worked out very well for Cody Lamas. Long ways back and a lot of cars before you get to the second place Jack Mitchell. Mitchell's actually kicked to the top side. He lost a couple of spots. One to Walsh, one to LaPlante. 15 car is going to be the one we have to watch out for, the 5-Hour Energy Chevrolet. Cody right now just saying, protect the bottom, protect the bottom. Don't let anybody to the inside of me, or he's going to be in trouble when that train on the inside line catches him. Trying to get by Kyle Matthews, put him a lap down. Levi McIntyre trying to get one of his laps back, the pole sitter. And Cody continues to run that defensive line down the back straightaway here, taking away an opportunity for someone to get to the inside of him going into 3. Nice corner that time out of 4. Gaps back to Levi McIntyre. There's Walsh in the 15. Getting around Benny Watson. He's bringing LaPlante and Mitchell with him. About 4 more cars to deal with before he gets up there to Cody Lamas. Running out of time, though. 6 to go this next time. He needs a little bit of help from the lap cars. He needs someone to kick Cody Lamas up to the top side to help him gain ground. Patrick Smith is the driver he has to deal with next in the 77. Now the one team is still looking for its first victory. Oh boy, but it may not get it because Cody slipped up the track. Levi McIntyre's there to take advantage. Where's the 15? He's diving to the inside of Patrick Smith. And maybe some contact there between McIntyre and Lamas, sending him a little bit further up there in 1 and 2. Cody in no man's land. Now Matt Haas going to try and take advantage. Osborne looks to take advantage. Here comes Tim Walsh in the 15 car. LaPlante is right there as well as Jack Mitchell. Looks like it's going to be a 4-man dance. Caution! Caution's out and we're racing back to it. This is going to end the race. Can Lamas hold off Walsh through 3 and 4? Tim Walsh, half a car length, now clear off the final corner. Tim Walsh comes around to receive the caution, and I believe he has won this race today at Dover with that move right there. A 1/10 of a second it was at the start-finish line. That proverbially might have been the checkers. What brought out the caution, though, to end this race is the question, and... ooh, maybe the 55. Well, no, actually, I think that's damage Gunther had from the last yellow. So who was it? Who brought out the final yellow of the day? Let's go back, see if we can find out before we end up coming back for our checkered flag recipient. Going to try and find the timing of when the lights came on the pace car to be able to pinpoint this. It was on the front straightaway. Rookie Daniel Silla And the 44, Nick Gunther was in this, actually. Two cars that I speculated in my head that might have been involved actually were involved. The 93 of Michael Wayne Robinson and the 55 of Nick Gunther, both in it. 3 wide, off of turn number 4. We see this all the time at Dover, especially when we go into a long enough run. Gunther pushes up the track, into Robinson. That hooks him up into the left rear quarter pane of Daniel Silla, and then a little contact there for both Cody Smart and Carter Friesen. Woo! Nice save there, able to point the Blue Def Dodge back in the right direction. And good job by Cody Smart getting on the brakes to not make that wreck any worse or any longer than it was. That's what brings out the yellow flag for the final time here today at Dover. And as we head back to live, Tim Walsh is about to come around and receive the white flag. This team formulated at the beginning of the season. Walsh and Danny Wells making their first career Duracell Cup Series starts here this season. They brought on veteran multi-time winner in the Duracell Cup Series Benjamin Miles to formulate the 3-car team out of Legend Racing. It's been a long, tough road for them. They've been outside the top 20 in the points almost since the initial start of the season. 24th in points coming into this one. But today, they are going to find victory lane for the first time. And Tim Walsh is going to get his first career Duracell Cup Series victory. Lamas will be second. LaPlante's going to bring it home third. Fourth place for Jack Mitchell. And Jesse Turner, he may be the 8th car in line back there, but it's going to be another good run for that 47 team out of Lake Effect Autosport as he is going to complete the top 5. Well, Fords were up here at the front in qualifying, but it's Chevrolets at the front at the end of the race. They will sweep the top 4 positions here today. And Tim Walsh and Legend Racing are going to carry some very good momentum into next week. For the first time in his career, he's going to take a checkered flag in the Duracell Cup Series, and it happens today at the Monster Mile. And we gotta hopefully have all these drivers cross the start finish line, as Pace Car had some problems getting onto pit road. And it looks like some of these guys aren't going to cross the line, so they may have getting scored a lap down in our final finisher results. We'll obviously be able to tell who was on the lead lap and who wasn't on the lead lap. I believe the last car on the lead lap was Kyle Matthews, if I'm not mistaken. He and Dylan Young, by the way, did manage to stay ahead of both Cody Lamas and Tim Walsh there on that last run. Here's a look at your finisher results. So Walsh with the win. We gave you the top 5 with Lamas, LaPlante, Mitchell, and Turner. Pedro Lucas, another great run for that 21 car, back-to-back top 10s in the last 2 weeks. He gets 6th, Ryan Butcher in 7th. Amanda Evans brings home 8th. Keith Batson had some early issues and salvages a top 10 run here today. And Charles Sanford going to complete the top 10. Nick Gunther finishes in 11th. 12th was Michael Wayne Robinson. Cody Smart looked like he was going to win this race, but a caution, well, put it this way, he kind of lived by the caution and died by the caution. One caution helped him, another one really hurt him. He still finished on the lead lap in 13th. Carter Friesen was 14th. Dylan Young in 15th, and 16th was Kyle Matthews. Those 16 drivers did officially finish this race on the lead lap. One lap down in 17th was Matt Haas, Patrick Smith, Cole Baker, Andrew Lemke. That was your top 20. Daniel Silla, who brought out the final caution of the day, 21st. Levi McIntyre and Joshua Osborne, they were your front row. They are the first 2 to finish 2 laps down in 22nd and 23rd today. Benny Watson finishes back in 24th. Carson Gum in 25th, and 26th, Phil Parker. Now, the 19 team came into this race 15 points ahead of the 8 team, and the 8 finishes 17th, the 25th position for the 19 team. So they will gain points, but I believe the 19 team, despite the fact that Carson was involved very early on in an incident, still salvaged every point he could get. I believe they still keep the points lead heading into Next week, drivers who did not reach the conclusion of this race, 3 in total, Dylan Poteet, Trey Wright, and James Qualls, will bring up the remainder of today's finishing results. So congratulations to Tim Walsh on the victory here today at the Monster Mile. It's going to be interesting to see how his victory shakes up the playoff standings, and of course as well with LaPlante having a good run, Benny Watson not having the greatest run here today. Did we have a swap for the final spot in the playoffs? We're going to have to wait and see. And hopefully you guys will join us next week to find out as well. If you enjoyed this race though, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, be part of the crew today. We have shown you full finish results. You will see your point standings in the pre-race next week. And until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching the broadcast courtesy of the NNSCRA All Flying Racing at its best.